You're sitting on a couch with three of your closest friends on a Friday evening. One of your friends has just finished telling a story, and the whole room is still laughing. You laugh too. A drink gets passed into your hand, and you take it without thinking. Then your friend turns and asks what you've been up to lately, and you answer naturally, like you always would. From the outside, nothing about this moment looks wrong. The room is warm, the conversation is easy, everyone seems comfortable. Then something small changes. The conversation shifts towards something you aren't part of. Two of your friends start talking to each other, and the third one glances down at his phone. For a few seconds, nobody's talking to you. You are still sitting there. You can hear every word. You could say something whenever you want it. But somehow, the room suddenly feels much farther away than it did a moment ago. You look around. Same couch, same people, same warm light from the lamp in the corner. And yet, you suddenly feel completely alone. That's the part that doesn't make sense. You're not sitting alone. There are three people right beside you. They invited you. They like you. Nobody said anything cruel. Nobody walked away. So why can a room full of people suddenly feel like a place you don't belong? You get home, and before you even sit down, your phone lights up with a message from one of your friends. "Tonight was fun. We should do this more often." You read it twice, and something in you agrees. It really was a good night. Nobody did anything wrong. That's actually what confuses you the most. You go over the whole night again, and nothing about it actually feels off. So there isn't really anything to fix or explain or complain about. And yet, when you put the phone down, you're still carrying that same feeling from earlier. If the evening really was fine, then whatever happened tonight wasn't really about the evening at all. For a second, you try to explain it the way most people would. You needed more people there, or maybe a different group. Perhaps the room was too small, or the conversation just wasn't deep enough that night. But none of that actually fits. You've felt this exact thing before in rooms full of people, and you've also felt completely fine sitting alone with just one person. So it was never really about how many people were around you, which means the question you've been asking yourself is the wrong one. It was never who else should have been there. Something else was happening, somewhere you weren't paying attention to. Go back to that same couch. Your friend just finished a story and you have a reply ready. Something quick, something that fits the moment. But before it leaves your mouth, a small thought cuts in, quietly asking if it's even worth saying. So you soften it, then you shorten it. Then, without really deciding to, you don't say it at all. The conversation just moves on to something else. You're still watching everyone talk. You're still nodding at the right moments. But part of you isn't really in the conversation anymore. Part of you is somewhere just behind your own eyes, watching yourself the way you'd watch a stranger. Nobody moved. Nobody pulled you out of that conversation. Your attention did. And if your attention can quietly pull you out of a conversation on its own, then something in you keeps doing this every time you're around people you actually care about. So why does your mind do that in the first place? Now, picture the same evening. A little later, your friend says something, and this time you don't stop to check it. You just answer. It's not a big moment, but something inside you shifts, just slightly. Your friend laughs at what you said, and instead of wondering if it landed right, you're already laughing too. For a few minutes, you're not tracking how you sound, or how you're being seen, or what to say next. You're just there, and it feels easier than it has all night. This is what being in the room actually feels like, without watching yourself from somewhere just outside it. But that feeling doesn't last very long. A few minutes later, you notice yourself checking again, without really deciding to. So, if it's this easy to slip back into the room, why is it just as easy to slip back out? There's a moment later that same night when your friend asks how you've actually been doing, not the small talk version, the real question. For half a second, you almost say it. This week has been rough, and part of you wants to actually say that out loud. But something in you edits it down before it reaches your mouth. "Yeah, I'm good," you say instead. "Just tired." Your friend nods and the conversation moves on. But you just created a small distance, one you built yourself, without really deciding to. And here's the part that's easy to miss. You didn't do that because you don't trust these people. You did it because some part of you was trying to keep you safe, from sounding needy, from being misunderstood, from a reaction you couldn't predict. The strange thing about that kind of protection is that it works exactly as intended. Nothing embarrassing happens, nothing goes wrong, but it also means the moment that could have brought you closer to your friend just quietly slipped past you instead. So the same instinct that's supposed to keep you safe might be the very thing keeping you distant. So here's what actually happened, piece by piece. Nobody in that room did anything to push you out. What moved wasn't the people around you. It was something quieter than that, something that had been happening under the surface all night. That checking wasn't random. It was protection, a quiet way of keeping you safe. And that same protection is what built the distance you felt all night, without you ever choosing it on purpose. This doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It means part of you has been working overtime to keep you safe, so quietly that you didn't even notice it happening. Now, this isn't true for everyone, and it isn't true every single time. Some people really are isolated. Some relationships genuinely aren't safe or available. But if you're someone who's surrounded by people who care about you, and you still keep feeling strangely far from them, this might be exactly what's happening underneath it. Think about the last time you were with your closest friends and you actually enjoyed being there. Were you really listening to what your friend was saying, or were you already thinking about how you were coming across? And if part of you was doing that, how much of that conversation did you actually experience? Were you saying what you actually wanted to say, or the version that felt safest to say instead? And if some part of you was protecting itself in that moment, then your friend never really got to experience all of you either. So the next time you catch yourself doing this, what do you actually do differently? So what actually changes the next time this happens? Not much at first. You just notice it. You notice the moment your attention starts drifting away from the conversation and toward yourself. And instead of fighting that feeling, you just bring your attention back, gently, to whatever your friend is actually saying. Then, the next time you catch yourself editing a thought before it leaves your mouth, you let it out a little rougher than usual. You ask the question you're actually curious about instead of the safe one. You let a pause be a pause instead of rushing to fill it with something that sounds right. None of this makes you more interesting. It just makes you more there, and not turns out to be the thing your friends actually feel, whether they can name it or not. Now, picture that same couch again. Same friends, same warm light from the lamp in the corner, same easy conversation moving around the room. Your friend says something and you laugh before you even think about whether it's the right time to laugh. Your other friend asks you a question and you actually answer it without checking how it's going to sound first. The room hasn't changed, your friends haven't changed, but for the first time all evening, you're not watching yourself from somewhere just outside the moment. You're just in it. And somewhere in the middle of that conversation, without ever noticing the exact second it happened, you stop feeling lonely. Not because the room got fuller, because you finally stopped standing outside it. If you've ever felt this exact kind of distance with the people who actually care about you, you're probably not the only one who's never quite understood why. And this isn't the only ordinary moment where that same quiet distance can show up without anyone noticing it happening at all.